Welcome to the Next Big Thing, where we take a look at what's new and next in an important topic. I'm Lisa Johnson, editorial director of CGT, and today I'm going to be talking about some of today's most important supply chain trends with Chris Conrad, Chief Technology and Information Officer at Aritzia, and Sutam Biswas, VP and Sector Head of Consumer Goods Industries at Wipro. So we're going to be talking a little about some of the most important things that are happening and how they're impacting the industry. Chris, I'd love to start with you. Now you're in a new role. You recently stepped into this role and you're at a high growth, vertically integrated retailer. So tell us a little bit about your role, about the company, and then would love to dig into what's top of mind for you right now as you're working with them to modernize the supply chain to support that growth.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to be a part of Aritzia. It's a Vancouver-based company. It's been around for decades now. The founder, Brian Hill, still operating. He still operates inside the company. Jen, the CEO, has been there for 38 years. So I'm very fortunate to be a part of the company. I'm responsible, like you said, technology and information systems. So it's basically enterprise technology platforms, AI, and data inside the company. It's based in Vancouver, and I'm very excited to be a part of the company. What's top of mind for me, maybe just get into three things when I come in. I have a deep supply chain background in technology, and the three things that are really important to me is kind of thinking about stepping into a role as production flexibility and speed to market. And for retailers, it's a competitive advantage. Consumers expect new styles frequently. Retailers must be able to respond quickly to emerging trends. That's not uncommon with vertically integrated retailers. The traditional production models with long lead times and rigid batch sizes, you just can't keep up with the demand. Stay agile. Vertically integrated retailers are not only exploring but building and deploying digital design tools to shorten that development life cycle to get really close to customers. And that includes like smaller production runs, faster testing and replenishment of popular key styles. To enable those efforts, we need to centralize and modernize our data platforms and systems to really reduce friction in this process. That's kind of the first thing I think of. Second is this global sourcing and supplier collaboration. It's pretty complex with hundreds and hundreds of suppliers. That task requires balancing costs, quality, lead time, and risks. So fashion retailers are vertically integrated. Retailers like Aritzia, we all have production in a lot of different countries, so regulatory environments, labor practices, logistical challenges. We all face that. So coordinating production schedules, quality control, and compliance across a very complex network, you typically need a system and a set of processes to be able to execute all those risks, et cetera. So that's kind of the second thing that I think of. Third is the top of mind. Ultimately, is inventory visibility. It's a cornerstone of managing an effective supply chain for retailers such as Aritzia. So managing, a wide network, very complex network across geographies without real-time insights, where inventory is located or how it's moving inside the company into distribution centers is problematic. So you need to have an integrated, inventory management system, replenishment systems, so you can have a single source of truth across a lot of different repositories of data, including stores, warehouses, fulfillment centers, et cetera. So those three things coming into a role like this with a deep supply chain technology background, I look for those things and programs to be able to solve that, integrators that can help us solve those solutions.
Gotcha, it makes sense. And Sutam, I want to pull you into this conversation. You have a very broad view of the consumer goods industry. So love to learn. Just tell us quickly about your role at Wipro, and would love to learn right now, how are you seeing the role of the supply chain evolve now that it's much more consumer facing and central to brand experience than it was just even a few years ago?
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Lisa, and thanks, Chris, for talking about your top priorities. So I lead the consumer goods sector for Wipro, and we work with clients in several segments. Apparel, fashion, and retail is a very big focus for us. Now, as we all know, supply chain is something which has evolved, always evolved, right? In the last 2 decades, continuously it has evolved as we changed our, manufacturing capabilities, as we changed our sourcing capabilities. We really continuously changed the supply chain model, but with commerce, particularly e-commerce, and now headless commerce, omni coming in, supply chain has to now evolve at a much accelerated rate. And what that means is that as our clients, continue to focus on how they can acquire, attract, and retain their consumer base, we as an SI need to continuously evolve and work with them to come up with various technology solutions which can help evolve their business processes. In the past, supply chain was about catering to large wholesalers, retailers who would interact with the consumers of these brand and retail companies. But now, with a good footprint of retail and commerce marketplace, uh, the entire supply chain had to go through a substantial change. We help clients redo their network models. We help clients, work with them as they change their distribution centers, came up with various warehouses, came up with various strategies to not just to cater to the large masses, but also to cater to one. For example, a consumer that is interacting with the brand is equally important, and it's even if through the commerce channel they are ordering for one, it's extremely important for us to fulfill that, for our clients to fulfill that, and that is where we need to come up with uh, very fast turnaround times and enable technology that is seamlessly integrating with inventory, with the stock in hand, with your ability to transport that to the consumer and whatnot. And while we do that, we need to continuously make sure that inventories are always kept in sync, so that consumer actually gets a good view and the promise that our brands make to our consumers about their products that's available to them on time. So we continuously, work with our, clients to evolve and help them fulfill their ambitions.
And that consumer experience is definitely the most important thing at the end of the day. So we know, Chris, you started to alluding to this a bit, but we know there's limitations with traditional forecasting across multiple channels, whether it's in-store, e-com, franchise, or wholesale, which is often the case with apparel and luxury companies. So what are some of the key priorities when it comes to shifting towards AI-based demand forecasting for you?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a common theme here: the brand promise, the customer promise, the inventory visibility I alluded to a little earlier, and the things that retailers think about, like I do, is do we have the right real-time inventory visibility across all locations, and how reliable is that data? How do we prioritize inventory allocation with demand spikes in one channel but not to others? And how do you forecast that? What tools and processes can we use to reduce those stock balances and ultimately reduce working capital so we can invest in better things to improve our sell-through rates? So vertically integrated fashion retailers they've got to navigate the complexity of forecasting demand across multiple channels, sales channels, retail stores, e-com, wholesale, et cetera. They all have their own buying patterns, promotional cycles, customer behaviors. And this challenge is amplified when operating in multiple countries, where cultural preferences, climate, economic conditions, et cetera, may influence purchasing decisions. The traditional forecasting models often fall short. They capture all these little nuances and either leading to overproduction or improved or a lessened environment when it comes to working capital, or basically missed sales opportunity. It goes back to that brand and customer promise. To improve that accuracy, businesses need to integrate all this data from all the different touch points, and including external variables like weather, social media patterns, micro or macroeconomic conditions, et cetera. That's a lot of data. And we need more advanced tools other than these traditional kind of databases. This is where advanced analytics, AI-driven forecasting tools and models can help you identify all those patterns in a wide way into like a single system to adjust these predictions, maybe not in real time, but near real time. And success also depends on this cross-functional collaboration between merchants and marketing and supply chain teams to align on all these assumptions. to be able to respond quickly for those market insights and make adjustments in real time. And with that consumption of that near real time data to adjust those forecasts and replenish that inventory, you need to do it more than just a few times a week. And this allows them to kind of respond quickly into those demand shifts. And what I think about in these new tools is how can we improve that data sharing collaboration between all the different channels that I mentioned, the retail, e-commerce, wholesale, to create that unified demand signal. And that's really the key. And with those external data sources coming into one system, how can you leverage, AI and machine learning to adjust those forecasts in real time in all those external sales, patterns and forecasting in advance? And what are the gaps in those current systems? And this space is evolving. There's some cool tools on the marketplace. There's great vendors like Wipro and others that can help enable these tools, but we're still evolving. And what I'm concerned with a little bit is just the change management. This is the way I used to do it, but this is the way it's done now. I don't have access to the algorithm. I got to trust the data, and that's a big thing that vertically integrated retailers and the business teams are facing today.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up change management. We're going to get to that in just a second because it is such a crucial part of the process. Before we do, just Sutam, anything you would add to what Chris has already said?
No, I think I was just listening to Chris talking about everything about products, about brand, and what was center of his thought process was the consumer, right? And consumer is actually interacting with your brand through multiple channels. And this is where bringing our original conversation back, supply chain is so integral to your commerce channel, to your revenue, to your loyalty, to the brand experience that you give. So it has become very core to everything that we do. AI is not a be-all solution for every problem. And as Chris rightly pointed out, there are solid products which bake in AI into their offering. But where we come into picture is make it tailored and make it relevant for our consumers, our customers, right? So we will always look for AI to do that last mile, which the product did not do, but our customers want. So that's where we play a big role, whether it is through search of your product through an e-commerce channel, or consumer just walking into your store looking up products, and the store associates' ability to recommend similar kind of products if the product is not available, with an attempt to cross-sell or upsell. And in general, it's all about the quality of data, as Chris rightly pointed out, and the amount of data. We are getting data from point of sales. We are getting data from social interactions. We are getting data from macroeconomic studies. We are getting data from syndicated studies and whatnot, right? And all that coming into your large data lake, ocean, sea, whatnot you might want to call it, right? But that's where your ability to mine that and make it relevant for our customers is where we come into play.
So the data is very important. The technology is very important, but ultimately this comes down to a lot of the people skills, right? And that's when we come into change management. So what are some of the ways that leaders can work with their teams? Many of these teams have been doing this job for a very long time. And so they've been successful in the ways that they've been doing things, and change can be difficult. So what are some of the ways that they can work with these teams who are used to these legacy tools? And what does that require from not just operational standpoint, but also from a cultural standpoint?
For me, I think of it's the build on the training. It's not necessarily what you see in the traditional change management program. You get, an organizational design. You used to do this, now you do this, and then you produce some training documentation. That's typically not the right approach. I think in these AI-based environments, you have to give them some fundamental training, and it's stacked. Really understanding the fundamentals. Why are you doing this? Why is it important? It's not the traditional forecasting and prediction models. It's basically taking in all this other data that you see from these external sources. But you have to build that knowledge at a ground level up, not just giving people training, taking them through a program and giving them training at the very end. You have to teach them to understand why these models work, where the data is coming from, and the training that's required, and the data training and data cleansing along the way That's why they should trust the data. They may not see the algorithm, but they can see the output. But that trust factor, you got to build over the course of quarters or even a year for some of these folks so they can see it. That's where these traditional, called integrated business planning, or what I like to call it AI, IBP, or AI-based integrated business planning environments, you have to build that over a period of time. And because those type of systems going from old to new AI-based systems, they fail because of this change journey methodology that is based on old school change journey methodology. It should be more AI-based. So it just takes a period of time, and it's different than what you've seen in the past.
I'd love to end on the looking ahead to the future. So since this is the Next Big Thing series, would love to close us out with some thoughts on what you each think the next big thing in supply transformation will be. What's exciting to you and why? Chris, let's start with you. Yeah.
Well, for me, it's not even noon here, and I'm in Seattle today, and I've had 5 calls on these AI-based systems. So I think of an AI-based organization, what does that look like in the DNA? And when I spoke about, you can probably hear my passion around AI-based demand forecasting or AI-based IDP type of systems. What I'm really excited about actually here is like agentic AI systems. And what agentic AI systems is a new class of artificial intelligence systems that go beyond this kind of passive response generation, but these agents can actively plan, decide, and act much like a human agent. So, supply chain, think of like, anonymous agents managing inventory or rerouting logistics or resolving disruptions, real-time order management, inventory system, agents monitoring and managing orders, predicting, so resolving and recommending the next step in action for, best results. Customer service agents, turning conversation and resolving issues and escalating only when needed. So I'm pretty excited about that actually. And thinking of like in the warehouse, think of the 4 walls of a distribution center. Most people can see that. Instead of having hundreds of reports to do things, think about an agent on somebody's phone that manages an operation coming in, and the agent telling he or she what to do before they even land on their desk to open up a report. They're telling them what orders are coming in or what's coming out the DC and what the labor looks like, and predicting what the order volume looks like for that day, and saying you need to focus in this area because your labor is lean, or you need to move a few things around. Those agents predicting and helping people resolve issues versus, like I said, reporting. I'm really excited about that. And the A2A protocol is going from this platform, this system, to this other platform and system that has AI based into it. I think that's a significant cost saving for enterprises. And it really flips the script on just, I need to answer some things, let me see a report, versus I already know what to do, let me go in and start to direct a team because an agent is telling me what to do. It's really going to elevate our game when we're thinking about how to deploy SG&A in enterprises.
Well, great thoughts to leave us with. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you both for joining us and talking with me today for the Next Big Thing. I've certainly learned a lot.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Lisa.